Today, more people are playing video games than ever before, and the dream of playing Call of Duty in your mom's basement all day long, getting paid for it, is slowly becoming a reality. Today, gamers will invest massive amounts of time and money into their favorite games and become madly obsessed with those games. So why not profit off those addicted to video games and the rising popularity and amounts of video games in the world? Today, I'll be explaining how one of my favorite companies, Microsoft, is slowly growing a gaming empire and eventually a monopoly on the gaming industry. So today, we'll be overlooking Microsoft's gaming segment and doing a deep dive of how they'll eventually become the top gaming company in the world. Before we get into the video, help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers by subscribing, smash the like button, and join the Discord to meet like-minded investors, bounce ideas off each other, discuss stocks, finance, and more. And of course, roll the intro.
Hello, I like money.
So let's talk about what Xbox currently owns, or aka what Microsoft currently owns. To start off, they own Xbox Game Studios. Xbox Game Studios is a parent company of a bunch of different gaming companies that produce and create games. Xbox Game Studios is made of 23 different game development studios. A big thing to note here is that these games are available for all consoles, not just Xbox, so the revenue is diversified. You'll recognize a lot of these studios: Xbox Game Studios, Bethesda, Alpha Dog Games, Mojang, which makes Minecraft, Arcane, Roundhouse Studios, Machine Games, and so much more. Now here are some of the titles that Microsoft owns. Start off, they own Minecraft, which is one of the most infamous games ever. Next, they have Halo, which they have the entire Halo series. Fable, Forza Motorsport, which is basically racing. Avowed, The Emerald, State of Decay 3, the Duskfall series, Tell Me Why, Grounded, Gears Tactics, Bleeding Edge. They also have more games also always releasing. They also own Sea of Thieves, which is a highly popular game. Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is basically a flight simulator as it mentions in the title. They own the Fallout titles. With what they're doing with Mojang right now, they're making different Minecraft titles, like with more story mode. So it's not just the traditional Minecraft they own, they're also more with that asset there. And Microsoft is constantly adding new titles and other game studios to their collection. Believe it or not, Xbox doesn't actually make money from selling the consoles themselves. In fact, they actually lose a little bit of money on the sale of the consoles. But where the real money is made is Game Pass and in-game transactions. Game Pass is really the first subscription of its kind, and it's kind of like the Netflix or Disney Plus of video game. You pay a certain price every month, and you get access to hundreds of video games every month that you wouldn't have to pay for otherwise individually owned title. Right now they have 3 subscription tiers. They have PC, which is $5 a month, console, which is the standard edition, so $10 a month, and Ultimate, which I have personally, which is $15 a month. Ultimate also includes Xbox Gold, which is a separate purchase that you need to play online for games. If you don't have Xbox Gold, then you can't play online with your friends, meet in parties, etc. This incentivizes the customer and anybody that buys a new Xbox. Hey, I might as well save an extra $5 or $10 if I just buy the Ultimate, and you end up getting the Game Pass and Xbox Live. This becomes a reoccurring purchase for many every month and a reoccurring revenue source, which is an amazing thing that you want in a business. PlayStation and other game companies are actually trying to replicate this business model right now. Xbox is genius in being the first to get their hands on this type of business model. Another thing that they're working on with Game Pass is making it accessible so you can play games from any device you have online. I've never tried this personally, but apparently you could play games from anywhere in the world, which I think in the future could be a huge thing, and you don't actually have to have your console on you. For example, I have a Chell game that I can't miss, but I'm going to be on the road. So I could just bring my controller and my phone or iPad and have that connect to the cloud, and bam, I could play from there. You'd basically be playing from your Xbox app. Now this still is in beta and development, and there are developments to be made in the future, so it's obviously not in its finished product yet. But this could be huge for Xbox in the future and taking over on PlayStation. As I've mentioned, Xbox Game Pass has been the cash cow for Microsoft in their gaming business so far. As you can see here, over the last few years, their subscriber growth has been crazy, growing millions every quarter, and if it's on pace, it will take over the rival PlayStation Plus. Currently, PlayStation Plus has roughly 45 million users, but in my opinion, and I'm sure in the opinion of many others, Xbox Game Pass, the quality of their service is much higher than PlayStation's. With PlayStation Plus, you're really just buying your opportunity to play online with friends, and you get a few free titles every month. In my opinion, there's a lot more value in the Xbox Game Pass than there is in PlayStation Plus, and I'm sure that consumers will realize that slowly. Obviously, you can see the rapid growth here, so assuming that gaming rates continue to increase, They will eventually be able to take over PlayStation Plus, but I think this could take longer than many expect, as there was a peak in 2020 as everybody was locked indoors playing more games, but now that people are going outside a little more, there may be slower growth. So who's Xbox's competition and who's stopping them from taking over the gaming industry? Right now, I would mainly say Sony, but Nintendo is there, and I mean, well, they're Nintendo. You can see here overall, sales are pretty cyclical, so obviously during the holiday season, you see sales spike. These are stats from the mid-2000s, but things have changed since then. Recently, there's been a wave of PlayStation users switching to Xbox because of the higher quality of service that they get from Xbox. They mention better deals on games, better value, better shopping experience on the Microsoft Store compared to the PlayStation Store. I'd also assume that Game Pass is definitely adding some more users from PlayStation to Xbox, as the value in there is much better than PlayStation Plus. Now, here's an interview with Satya Nadella to kickstart our conversation about the Activision Blizzard deal.
About how do, first of all, you've got to remember, we built our games, like Flight Simulator was built before even Office was built at Microsoft. So we have a long heritage in gaming. And so we want to really bring the joy of gaming to everybody. That's our mission. So we want people to be able to enjoy the games they love on platforms they are, playing in, and that's our goal. So we love the console, the Xbox, we love the PC, we love mobile, we love xCloud.
I personally think it's really funny he doesn't mention PlayStation here.
And what have you. And so that's it. And Activision is a fantastic partner of ours today that we want to be able to sort of take all their content and make sure it's available on every platform.
But analysts are saying $70 billion. Don't you wish you had paid less?
Look, I think it's a fantastic deal that we disclose the financials. It's going to be accretive to us the day of close. So we are excited about having that be as part of Microsoft.
Right. The US, UK, and now EU regulators think that, and their initial probe suggests that this deal would help Microsoft monopolize the gaming market. What's your view on that?
First of all, like all large deals, I think the regulators should scrutinize them. Our entire goal is to bring more competition and more options, right? For both gamers to be able to play everywhere, and for publishers to have more competition. Because the real issue is, how do you really reach all platforms? So, for example, if we really do what we get to do what we're sort of asking to be done, is that we can stream these games to all platforms, right? So that you can really have more avenues for publishers other than just the app stores of the two mobile platforms. So we think if you really believe in more competition, I think then we should have some more competition. And I think our entire goal at Microsoft is to be able to sort of drive that.
Gaming is 8% of Microsoft's overall revenues. What's your ultimate ambition in this business?
So the way I think about Microsoft is we're not a conglomerate. I want to be very, very clear. It's not about sort of gaming here and productivity here. The fundamental
But it all adds up, right?
But the fundamental thesis for us is, what's the core technology that we build that allows us to be in these different businesses while doing things that are valuable for customers. With gaming, for example, for us, it's a streaming workload. It allows to really help us build the right cloud infrastructure, think about AI, these AI-generated models differently, and how they can be used in both creation and testing of games. So I come at this as saying, look, these are the categories we are in, are the categories we chose to be in, and they all come together. So I love the accounting of each of these, and our shareholders should hold us accountable so that we're not in businesses that we're not making real progress on. But there is also a fundamental thesis. What can Microsoft uniquely do for gamers and game publishers?
Now let's talk about one of the biggest factors that will make Microsoft a monopoly and one of the largest gaming companies in the next decade, which is the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. About a year ago in 2022, Microsoft announced that they'd be buying Activision Blizzard for $69 billion using an all-cash deal. Obviously, not a lot of companies can buy that, let alone with all cash, which is crazy impressive, and it's only a deal that a company like Microsoft could make. Activision Blizzard is a game development company that owns iconic brands such as Call of Duty, Overwatch, Destiny franchise, World of Warcraft, which is owned by Blizzard, Candy Crush, and more iconic franchises. Now, this is huge because these franchises have already built up a big fan base and a huge portion of the gaming community which has already played and repeatedly buys these games. I would say, though, that the most valuable asset that they'll be acquiring is Call of Duty. If you haven't heard of Call of Duty, you've probably been living under a rock over the last 10 years. It's the most popular video game franchise in the last decade. Over the last couple of years, Call of Duty has been scrutinized for having poor quality games and not having the same vibes that it used to, but this year that changed. Call of Duty has a new business model this year. Instead of releasing a new game every year, the game would have a release every 2 years with big updates in between. This year's Call of Duty game was very good. It has a very good campaign and overall a different stigma from usual haters. In every new Call of Duty release, there's a new hype around Call of Duty and, more people overall coming back to the platform, which is what you want, reoccurring customers. So that's why I believe the Call of Duty asset will be huge for Microsoft in the future. Along with the other brands that Activision Blizzard owns, it will be an amazing acquisition. Well, let's hold it right there, because the FTC obviously doesn't hold any Microsoft in their long-term portfolios because they want to block this deal. They're saying that they're trying to basically create a monopoly and that it will be unfair for competition. They claim that Xbox would gain control of top video game franchises, enabling it to harm competition in high-performance gaming consoles and subscription service by denying or degrading rivals access to its popular content. Now, the head of the FTC is Lina Khan. She's a progressive. She's known for being against big tech and an antitrust lawsuit maker. Let's just say that she didn't buy Microsoft at $179 like I did. So she's the head of the FTC right now. Biden appointed her like 2 years ago. There obviously is a political bias, but there is at least a kind of a case to be made against Microsoft. When you have somebody that personally does have a bias against a company and you have them in charge of an entire commission, I don't think it's a great idea. Sony is complaining about this as well with Lina Khan, and here's what Microsoft has to respond. Right now, Sony is really saying, oh, they're going to take Call of Duty away from us. They're going to make it Xbox exclusive, so more people switch away from PlayStation. And Microsoft's saying basically to Sony, nah, we're just going to take the Call of Duty title. We'll still have it available on your platform too. Sony's saying basically that Microsoft will have better benefits for Xbox players and PC players opposed to PlayStation, and they're worried about it obviously because it would be a better deal for Microsoft. Microsoft's saying, hey, you're not even the top dogs right now. You're the top dogs. And they offered a decade-long contract to have Call of Duty have the same rights on PlayStation as they do on Xbox right now. So from what I'm seeing right now, there is a lot of confidence from Microsoft and Activision that eventually this deal will go through. Right now, personally, I'd say I'm about 80% confident that it would go through. But, nothing's ever certain for sure, so I can't 100% say that this will go through. I would say that Microsoft definitely has a better argument, but you never know what will happen. From what I'm hearing, that it will happen in August, a final verdict. Microsoft obviously has an amazing business besides gaming, so the stock isn't going to go down 15% if it doesn't go through. But if the deal does go through, it will be huge for Microsoft in their future with gaming. They could have Call of Duty be exclusive on Xbox Game Pass, which would get more users on Xbox, more benefits for Xbox players, etc. It would just be a huge win. Now, here's a former interview with the DOJ attorney. It's basically his thoughts on the deal and potential issues for both parties.
Talk about this transaction. I'm very curious what you make of the suit and the effort to block this transaction.
Well, thanks for having me again, Andrew. I think the suit was probably not a surprise for a lot of folks who've been watching the enforcement regime in the last 2 years. I think there's a greater tolerance for risk by the antitrust enforcers. And, it's one of those rare vertical merger challenges. But it's going to be interesting. I think the FTC has some challenges in market definition in the case. But the timing and the process for these types of cases make the whole effort moot, because I think the trial date that they've asked for sometime in August, which is outside the merger end date, which is, I believe, in June.
You said you thought that this administration has a willingness to take more risk. Mm-hmm. If you were to handicap the way a judge might determine the outcome of this case, how would you, if someone said to you, what are the chances? What are the chances of a win or a loss? What do you think they are?
Well, that's always a foolish endeavor for lawyers to try to handicap. However, this is a process here. This is really important in this case. The FTC has gone before its administrative law judge inside the agency itself, rather than to a Article III court in the district courts where the Justice Department, where we had to go to. So they go before their own administrative law judge. This administrative law judge, or at least the last couple of cases they brought, has ruled against the Federal Trade Commission. This was the Illumina Grail case, as well as the Altria Jewel cases. What's interesting is that you appeal that judge's case, guess to who? The commission itself. And so the commission that voted on this sits on the appeal. And then after that, you go to a federal court of appeals. So, and guess what? In 40 years, the FTC has never lost its appeals of its own decisions. So I think that's what makes it a real challenge for Microsoft and Activision here.
With most law experts that I've seen online about this, they mostly think that Microsoft has a stronger case, but obviously nothing is for sure, and there are both definitely claims for both sides. If the deal goes through, Microsoft will be able to help fund Activision Blizzard games to be even better in the future, more high quality, etc. Also help them be more profitable. Now let's take a current look at Microsoft's stock right now. They're trading up recently. They hit a low at around $213.43, but since then they've climbed back up to $291.60 currently. Financially, Microsoft is one of the strongest companies that you can invest in. With great free cash flow, amazing profit margins, and multiple segments of business revenue, they are definitely a top stock that any investor should be looking into, and in my opinion, I think anything below $300 is a fair price for Microsoft. Currently, they're trading at a P/E ratio of 31.13, which I mean, for Microsoft with such great growth potential and already great growth that they're seeing right now, with the assets that they have, I think that's a fair price. Microsoft rewards shareholders with share buybacks and a growing dividend. Microsoft's annual dividend growth rate is sitting near 10%. Microsoft is the largest position in my portfolio right now by weight, and I intend for it to be, as it's one of the highest quality companies in the world in my opinion. And of course, this gaming business growth is huge long term, and I think they really have a big potential to be one of the largest, if not the largest gaming company in the world in the next decade. Microsoft currently has a dividend yield at near 1%, sitting at 0.93%. They've been growing their dividend for the last 18 years straight with a 5-year annual dividend growth rate of 9.92%. Currently, their payout ratio is very sustainable at 28.51%, so expect more dividend growth in the future, and especially if their gaming business picks up, as I mentioned it may. Right now, without the potential gaming empire that they may have on the horizon, Microsoft is one of, if not the strongest companies in the world. Added on top of that, with the insane profit margins and free cash flows they have right now, and the way that they reward shareholders, it is, in my opinion, a must-own stock for you to own, and a must-own business that you should own. Microsoft should be able to profit off these assets that they get from Activision Blizzard, and their current assets they have with Xbox Game Studios to full extent. They'll do this through Xbox Game Pass's potential growth over the long term, cloud gaming, and Call of Duty in the Activision Blizzard. If they use their profits smartly with that money, they should be able to reinvest into making better games, acquiring new studios, and eventually Microsoft will have a gaming empire. And even if the gaming empire doesn't happen, Microsoft is still an amazing business to own over the long term with the current assets that they have and the current business segments they have. And that, my friends, is the end of the video. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. It does mean a lot, and it helps me reach my goal of getting monetized by the end of the year. If you do appreciate this type of video and you want to see more of it, let me know in the comment section. Share the video with a friend or family member you think would find it valuable and that you want to get into investing. And of course, thank you for making the video. Join the Discord, link in the description, meet like-minded investors, etc. And of course, like, subscribe, and do dividend stocks, not drugs. Have a good one.